The deepest wounds are always the quietest ones. They don't scream, they don't bleed, they don't demand attention. They simply sit inside you, shaping your thoughts, your fears, and the way you move through the world. When I talk about invisible pain, I'm talking about the kind that lives behind your eyes, the weight you carry in your chest, the heaviness you never say out loud, the battles you fight in silence because you don't know how to explain them, or maybe because you don't trust the world to understand. We grow up learning how to hide our hurt better than we heal it. We learn how to hold our breath, hold our tears, hold ourselves together, even when everything inside us is cracking, and the world praises us for it. People say you're strong because you don't talk about it. They call you resilient because you don't complain. They admire the calm face, not realizing how many storms it's holding back. But here's the truth. Silence doesn't mean strength. Silence often means survival. You weren't quiet because you were strong. You were quiet because life gave you no other choice. The pain you never speak about becomes the architect of your identity. It decides how you trust, how you love, how you react, and how you protect yourself. You start reading danger in harmless places. You expect disappointment before it even arrives. You withdraw before you're abandoned. You push people away before they can get close enough to hurt you. All because at some point, someone made you believe that the safest place to keep your heart was behind walls. And yet, those walls don't protect you. They imprison you. The invisible wounds drain you slowly. They make you tired in ways sleep cannot fix. They make you anxious in moments that shouldn't scare you. They make you doubt yourself even when you're capable. They make you repeat the same emotional patterns because the pain hasn't been acknowledged, only buried. And the thing about buried pain is this: it doesn't die. It waits. It returns. It shows up in your reactions long before it ever shows up in your awareness. That's why you sometimes overreact to small things. That's why your heart tenses at harmless words. That's why certain situations activate a fear you don't fully understand. You're not dramatic. You're not weak. You're not too sensitive. You're carrying wounds no one ever saw. Wounds you were never allowed to talk about. Wounds you never learned how to process. Healing begins the moment you stop pretending those wounds don't exist. You don't have to announce your pain to the world. You don't need everyone to understand you. But you must stop lying to yourself. You must stop telling yourself you're fine when you're exhausted. Stop telling yourself it doesn't matter when something inside you is clearly breaking. Stop telling yourself you're strong enough to handle it alone when your soul is begging for release. Pain is not weakness. Feeling is not failure. Acknowledging your hurt is not surrender. It is the first step toward reclaiming your life. And hear me clearly. You cannot heal a wound you refuse to look at. You cannot outthink a pain you have never allowed yourself to feel. You cannot outrun what lives inside you. But here is the good news. Invisible pain can be transformed. The moment you name it, the moment you admit what has been hurting you, the moment you allow yourself to feel what you have been suppressing, something shifts. Not magically, not instantly, but slowly, like dawn after a long night. Healing is not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with small moments of honesty, tiny acts of courage, a single breath where you finally say, "This hurt me, and I don't want it to control me anymore." When you understand your invisible wounds, you begin to understand yourself. And when you understand yourself, you become powerful in a way no one can take from you. The things that once scared you lose their grip. The patterns that once trapped you begin to break. The weight that once defined you starts to lift. And maybe, just maybe, for the first time in a long time, you breathe without feeling pain behind the breath. The wounds no one sees are the ones you must heal first, because they are the ones directing your entire life. And today, your healing begins the moment you choose honesty over silence. When you finally stop running from the things inside you, something strange happens. The fear that once felt so huge begins to lose its power. Because the truth is, what hurts you the most is not the wound itself, it's the way you bury it. You pretend it doesn't matter. You hide it under, "I'm fine." And you keep moving as if moving faster would keep the pain behind you. But pain doesn't stay behind. Pain waits. Pain sits quietly, collecting interest, turning small cracks into deep fractures. And the longer you avoid it, the more loudly it begins to speak in the moments you least expect. You've felt this before, waking up with a heaviness you can't explain, snapping at people you actually love, getting irritated by small things, saying you don't care when you do, or feeling exhausted even when you've done nothing. These are not random feelings. These are messages from within. These are unhealed wounds knocking at the door, asking to be seen. And if you keep ignoring them, they'll find stronger ways to get your attention. Because the body remembers everything you try to forget. The heart remembers everything you try to numb. The mind remembers every emotion you swallow instead of release. Healing doesn't start when everything gets better. Healing begins the moment you get honest. The moment you stop pretending you're okay. The moment you finally say, "Yes, this hurt me, and I deserve to heal from it." But honesty takes courage because it forces you to confront the parts of your story you'd rather skip. The heartbreak you said you moved on from but never really processed. The betrayal you pretend didn't affect you. The childhood moments that shaped your fears but you never talked about. The mistakes you still blame yourself for. The people you forgive on the outside but silently resent on the inside. These are the silent wounds, and the only way through them is through them. And I know, facing your inner world feels heavy. It feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it feels like opening a door to a storm you've spent years trying to avoid. But you don't heal by denying storms. You heal by learning to walk through them without losing yourself. You heal by allowing your emotions to exist, not to control you, but to speak to you. When you finally give yourself permission to feel, you also give yourself permission to rise. Avoidance is a temporary relief, but truth is a permanent cure. You may distract yourself for a while, scrolling, working, talking, laughing, keeping busy, but the moment you slow down, the truth rises again. And it rises because it wants to help you, not break you. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your messenger. It's your compass. It shows you where you need to look, where you need to release, where you need to grow. And when you finally have that quiet moment with yourself, no noise, no distractions, you'll notice something. The wound that once felt unbearable becomes a doorway to strength you didn't know you had, a doorway to clarity you were blind to, a doorway to the version of you that has been waiting on the other side of your honesty. Healing doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. It requires sitting with your emotions without judging them. It requires admitting that you're human, that you've been hurt, and that you deserve peace. You don't heal by forcing yourself to be strong. You heal by allowing yourself to be real. You might cry. You might shake. You might feel memories you thought you erased. But every tear is a release. Every tremble is a breakthrough. Every honest moment is a step forward. And slowly, the heaviness begins to lighten. The darkness begins to soften. The wound begins to close, not because time healed it, but because you finally did. So stop running from your pain. Stop hiding behind strength that exhausts you. Stop pretending your wounds don't matter. They do. You do. And the moment you decide to face what you've been avoiding is the moment you begin to take your power back. Because healing begins the moment you choose honesty over avoidance. There comes a moment in every person's life when silence becomes too loud to ignore. Not the silence around you, but the silence inside you. The one that whispers the truth you keep avoiding. The one that quietly repeats what your heart has been trying to say for years. You can't carry this forever, and yet you keep trying. You keep holding everything in, pretending you're okay because you're used to being the strong one, the calm one, the the one who doesn't break. But strength isn't measured by how much pain you can hold. Strength is measured by how deeply you can understand yourself, and understanding yourself requires listening, truly listening to the wounds you've pushed aside, because every unspoken emotion builds a wall. Every ignored feeling becomes a weight, and slowly, without you realizing it, you become someone you don't recognize. You smile less, you care less, you feel disconnected from yourself. You start to live on autopilot, not broken, but not fully alive either, just surviving. This is what happens when you don't let your wounds speak. They don't disappear. They simply find other places to hide. In your anger, in your sadness, in your overthinking, in the way you push people away, in the way you stay up at night replaying conversations, imagining different outcomes. These are not random behaviors. These are unhealed truths trying to escape. But the moment you give space to your inner voice, everything begins to shift. And it doesn't begin with a big, dramatic moment. It begins in quiet, in stillness, in that fragile pause where your distractions no longer drown out your reality. It begins when you sit with your emotions instead of running from them. It begins when you stop trying to silence the parts of you that are begging to be heard. People think healing is about fixing pain, but healing actually begins with understanding pain, understanding where it came from, understanding why it still affects you, understanding what it has taught you, because pain doesn't show up without a purpose. Every emotion you feel is a signal, a guide, a teacher. When you stop judging your feelings and start learning from them, suddenly your whole life begins to make sense in ways it never did before. You start to realize that the reason certain moments trigger you is because you never healed from the first time it happened. The reason certain relationships exhaust you is because you're repeating old patterns. The reason you feel stuck is because you're carrying emotions from years ago that you never processed. And once you see these patterns clearly, you gain something you didn't have before: awareness. And awareness is freedom. Awareness gives you the power to choose differently, to respond instead of react, to release instead of suppress, to speak instead of staying silent, to set boundaries instead of pretending you're okay with everything. This is the beginning of emotional clarity, the ability to understand yourself, deeply enough that your emotions no longer control you, confuse you, or overwhelm you. And once this clarity enters your life, something beautiful happens. You begin treating yourself with the same compassion you offer to others. You stop blaming yourself for things that weren't your fault. You stop carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. You stop expecting yourself to be unbreakable. Instead, you allow yourself to be human. You allow yourself to feel. You allow yourself to grow. This is the kind of clarity that turns pain into wisdom, not by erasing the wound, but by transforming it. When you finally acknowledge your hidden emotions, they stop sabotaging you. They stop whispering in the dark. They stop showing up as anxiety, frustration, or emptiness. They begin to guide you. They begin to teach you. They begin to lead you toward the version of yourself you were always meant to become. And slowly, discover something powerful. You were never weak for feeling deeply. You were never broken for carrying pain. You were simply waiting for the moment you were ready to understand yourself, truly understand yourself without fear, without shame, without judgment. And that understanding becomes the foundation of your healing. It becomes the moment you stop being controlled by your wounds and start being shaped by your truth. Because emotional clarity is not the end of healing. It's the beginning of becoming whole. And this begins the moment you finally choose to listen to the truth within you. Imagine for a moment the wounds you carry that no one else sees, the hidden fractures of your spirit, the quiet scars that linger long after the world has moved on. These are the wounds that shape you, often silently dictating how you respond, how to your trust, how you love, and how you exist in the world. Healing them is not a matter of convenience or vanity. It is a necessity. To ignore them is to allow them to fester, to influence your choices unconsciously, and to define the narrative of your life from the shadows. The first step in this process is acknowledgement. Admit to yourself that these wounds exist. Give them a name, a voice, a recognition. Denying their presence only deepens their power, while acknowledgement begins to strip away their control. Healing hidden wounds requires courage, for it is a journey into the unseen, into the parts of yourself you may have long avoided. It asks you to confront the pain that lies beneath your smiles, beneath the facade of composure, and beneath the layers of what the world sees as strength. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite fear. To heal, you must be willing to enter the discomfort, to allow yourself to feel the sorrow, the grief, and the anger that may have been buried. This is not indulgence. This is reclamation of your inner power. Patience is another essential companion in this process. Hidden wounds do not disappear with a single declaration of will or a fleeting moment of insight. They are subtle, intertwined with your memories, your habits, your reactions. Healing them is a gradual, sometimes painstaking process. It is the small acts of self-compassion, the consistent practice of reflection, and the deliberate steps toward understanding yourself that build the foundation for true restoration. Do not rush, and do not demand immediate transformation. Honor the timeline of your own spirit. Self-compassion is the balm for these invisible injuries. Recognize that carrying unseen wounds is a testament to your resilience, not a mark of failure. Speak to yourself gently, as you would to a friend who has endured hardship. The narratives you tell yourself about your wounds can either imprison you or liberate you. Transform self-criticism into curiosity, blame into understanding, and shame into acceptance. The wounds you bear are not indicators of weakness. They are evidence that you have endured and survived. Reflection and journaling can be powerful tools in this healing process. Writing allows the unspoken parts of your mind to surface, offering clarity and perspective. It creates a dialogue with your inner self, a safe space where your wounds are validated without judgment. This practice also allows patterns to emerge, showing you the ways these unseen scars have shaped your decisions and interactions. Through reflection, you gain insight into the root of your pain and the steps necessary to address it. Healing hidden wounds also involves setting boundaries. Often, these wounds are exacerbated by repeated exposure to environments or individuals that trigger past pain. Learning to say no, to distance yourself from toxic influences, and to protect your emotional energy is not selfish shit, is essential for recovery. Boundaries are not walls to keep life out. They are a declaration that your inner world matters, that your restoration is a priority. Forgiveness, too, plays a critical role, not for the benefit of those who may have hurt you, but for your own liberation. Holding on to resentment or guilt keeps you tethered to the past. Forgiveness is a conscious choice to release the grip of pain, to step into the present unburdened. It does not erase the past, but it frees you from its control. Finally, embrace the process with hope. Healing is not linear, and setbacks are part of the journey. Each day you confront your hidden wounds. Each moment you allow yourself to feel and process is a victory. The pain may linger, but it gradually loses its dominance. Through acknowledgement, courage, patience, self-compassion, reflection, boundaries, and forgiveness, you reclaim your life from the shadows of unseen injuries, and in that reclamation, you discover a deeper, uncheckable strength, one that the world cannot see, but which shapes every choice, every interaction, and every step forward. Healing what no one sees is not just recovery. It is transformation.